Yeah, so Crystal's going to be playing through or helping us through this evening. Now, we wanted to lead off actually with a little bit of sort of YouTube news ish. And there's a very good reason for this to be for that ish. And this is YouTube restricted mode. So it's a thing that everybody's talking about these days. And if you don't know what it is, so YouTube restricted mode is a mode that YouTube has that restricts content. And in theory, this is supposed to be a lockdown. I have handed my iPad off to a toddler, a 5-year-old, and they're browsing YouTube, and we really just want to play it safe and play it super duper safe. And the reason why people are getting worked up over this is that the algorithms and the processes that are determining what gets restricted and what doesn't are disproportionately targeting LGBT content, regardless of actual content and actual tone. That simply being identifiably LGBT is enough to consider something worthy of being restricted. And that's a problem. That is absolutely a problem.
Yeah.
However, the thing to keep in mind, so now here's the thing is, restricted mode's actually been around for over a year. They rolled it out in December of 2015. So you may be asking, why is it just now getting exposure? And that's because it was rolled out to almost no fanfare. And people just kind of started to notice recently. So it is a feature that's just kind of lurking there. It's not heavily used. It has been around for a while. That's not an excuse. That's just like, hey, this is kind of some worthy history here. That's like, it has been around for a while, and people are just kind of now noticing. And so it's not that this is a new product. It's just that people are finally sort of realizing what it is that this thing does. And that's kind of the thing. So that's what that's what you're hearing about YouTube restricted mode right now. Is the problem there is that it is treating LGBT content. If it is identifiably LGBT, it seems to automatically get elevated in terms of its odds of being restricted. Now, a couple
Right.
of
As
the
if
other
like
ways.
sexual orientation equals automatically sexual.
Exactly. And sort of extending from that, there's also problems with there is no appeals process. There's no way to tell if your stuff has been restricted or not. Like if you're on the dashboard, if I'm on my dashboard, I can't see which of mine are invisible in restricted mode. I need to go manually check that by opening a window, putting it in restricted mode, viewing my channel, and then making a note of what doesn't show up.
So like really up there with YouTube's history of being really creator friendly.
Yeah, so there's no way to tell if your stuff's been restricted. There's no way to appeal the process. The guidelines on what is, or like how things get restricted and what they consider should be restricted are opaque. And it kind of goes back to a general, like, YouTube not adequately providing the granular controls that users need. And now, if you were in H Bomber Guy's stream, if you were watching H Bomber Guy's stream on Friday, this is going to be a repeat of some of the stuff I said there. But one of the things that YouTube really kind of needs to do, and one of the problems that they run into with building tools like restricted mode, is that they don't do an adequate job of providing granular control for these sorts of age restrictions, for the like age identifying, like the target age identification of content. So what they do have right now, the one thing that they do have is you can flag a video as contains mature content, which puts it behind, a voluntary age gate. and then you need to be signed in order to pass that age gate. And the functionality of that, or like the effectiveness of that, is open to debate, as with any sort of voluntary age gate. You know, it doesn't take kids very long for them to get savvy enough to know how to lie about being 18, but you know, it's a thing. And it does, like, it's at the very least like something approaching a sort of gatekeeper. And for people who like really do not want to like personally stumble on, you know, a, I don't know, movie trailer, like if they don't want to see red band movie trailers because they really do not want to engage with that content, then it does help them. So there is a theoretical person out there who is going to use it in good faith, and it's going to help them do whatever with their life. And the problem here is that the moment you flag something as age restricted, it becomes ineligible for monetization, like 100%. You know, even red band trailers don't show on restricted content. You cannot monetize a restricted video, a mature content video. So this means that creators then, no matter how edgy they get, if they run their channel off of ad revenue, they have an incentive to not ever age restrict their content or flag it for age restriction. And the problem here is that, you know, it doesn't matter if the content is actually over the line. Like, they're not going to pull back. They're just going to kind of hope. The only time I've seen people like really voluntarily age restrict something is when they know that it's like really far out there and they would rather just preemptively give up on the ad revenue rather than risk the community guideline violation.
Wait, so the way you're explaining it, though, that makes it sound like they only want to advertise. Like, okay, so you can't advertise to kids even if the ads are kid-based, though. Like, that doesn't make any sense.
Well, so you can advertise to, yeah, okay, because you're right. This is tapping into something else by not letting users like actually get more granular. That you pretty much only have two age restriction settings right now, which is the bottom is the opaque restricted mode, which no one really understands how it works and seemingly adds stuff at random and definitely false flags a lot of stuff that it shouldn't, and indicates some back-end algorithmic biases that definitely need to be interrogated. So you have that. At the low end, you have, I gave my iPad to a toddler, and then you have porn, but classy. You know, you've got like Clayton Cubitt stuff, and I mean, don't get me wrong, I think Clayton Cubitt is a fantastic artist, like video artist, but like let's be honest, it's not porn, it's HBO. That kind of a situation, like you've really only got those two extremes. So there isn't anything in between, and this actually works against YouTube's interest, because if they let me flag all my stuff, like let's say it's like I could still be viable for monetization, but I flagged everything as like, look, this is 13 plus, this is 15 plus. We aren't going to get particularly raunchy. You know, it's not going to go way out there. I don't actually use like any profanity in the main videos. But we are talking about, you know, mature content, and I use that in the actual mature content. Like we're talking about death and morality, and you know, some weighty subjects at times. By still having that viable for monetization, I have willingly given YouTube information that they can take to advertisers to help accurately target ads. And the thing is that this kind of thing is standard on television. Like every single TV show has a very tightly a focused statement on who's the target audience, like on their demographic targets. And YouTube, by and large, simply reverse engineers those to a degree that is, effective. Like that, they basically say like, okay, logged in users who have voluntarily given us their information, we can reverse engineer the age, who's watching it based on
Right.
that. But I don't know. They're kind of missing out by not taking producers' word on what audience they're targeting.
Right, and they're
Because
actually
that goes-
actively like trying to keep people from doing that by taking away that incentivization of monetization of their videos.
Yeah.
Like they're actively
Yeah.
saying, we don't want you to tell us what's in your videos, because if you do, we're not going to pay you anymore.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the thing is that there's no reason, like at the end of the day, there's no real reason to fully restrict monetization, even on mature content. Because if you think about it, like YouTube will show the occasional, like they'll get the occasional red band trailer campaign. And, you think about it, like Evil Dead's red band trailer, like absolutely they're going to do an ad buy on mature content videos if that's a possibility, because that's getting them right to their target audience. So there's just a couple different things that they need to do in that regard. They need to give users more tools to help state like who am I targeting, which is in turn going to help them better target videos. It's going to help them just do their thing better, and they need to remove the opacity. They need to just how oblique and impenetrable it is on the restricted side of things.
Well,
Like-
and not to like totally gank you in a slightly different direction, but so am I correct in assuming though that this is whatever their algorithm is also taking cues from, like, are they letting users flag other people's content in some way for this?
Yes. Okay. So there's already an entire system in place for reporting content, like that you can report inappropriate content. And if enough of those reports come in, one of two things will happen. Like if it's too far out there, like let's say you actually put up like, animal abuse. That's straight up against the community code of conduct, and so that'll just get taken down, and your account will probably get deleted. But let's say it's just like you didn't, there's some nipples, you got some titties in your video, and that's not technically.
Wait,
like,
are they male nipples or female nipples though?
Female nipples. You've got some female
Okay.
nipples.
All right,
You
so
have-
that needs to be restricted immediately.
So that is not a severe violation of the community guidelines. So your account isn't going to get restricted, but the video, if enough reports come in saying like, hey, this is mature content, then that video is going to get automatically flagged for mature content. Now, here's where those overlap, is that it seems, from what we can tell, that regardless of the content of video, if enough people report it, even if on review it does not get escalated, it's still going to be considered controversial. And that controversial flag, in turn, basically becomes a okay, you are now invisible in restricted mode. And the reason we can tell this is because we're looking at a bunch of the channels of Zoe Quinn and a number of other people who have been the target of hate campaigns. Like, we know they have stalkers who will maliciously report literally everything these people ever put up.
Right.
And so stuff that's just like, hey, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to talk about programming in Arduino. And it does not, none of the metadata, none of the tags, none of the title, nothing about it even suggests anything remotely close to what would be under any definition restricted. They don't swear in it, nothing. But because no doubt 4chan assholes have gone through and flagged every single video on that channel have reported every single video on that channel as inappropriate, that programming an Arduino video is now controversial, and so it's not visible in restricted mode.
Yeah, see, that's a problem I could
That's
have
a
foreseen.
problem. Yeah,
Yeah.
and there's no appeals process.
Well, and it kind of goes along with, I know you talked about this a long time ago about the malicious like takedown notices of like, oh, this is copyright material, or you're using this phrase in the name of your video, and
Yeah.
we copyrighted that phrase now. Like, it's that same problem. Like, you're taking away the money stream, you can't get it back, and as you're saying now, there's not really a review process if it goes to this extent.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's kind of the situation with restricted mode. That's what you're hearing about. That's what people are talking about. That's why people are upset, is because it's clearly easily gamed by malicious actors. It's clearly false flagging or like elevating certain types of content, like any content to deal that even passingly mentions LGBT at all. Like, just the existence of LGBT is considered an aggravating factor, and a bunch of other things. Like, I mean, and the hilarious thing. So this is the hilarious thing, is the free speech warriors out there, so-called free speech warriors, are not particularly concerned because it's hurting their enemies. So this, despite the fact that, like, Sargon, our good friend Carl of Swindon, his entire channel vanishes. The entire thing is gone under restricted mode. And now that's actually appropriate because the man spews hate speech nonstop, but he doesn't care about the fact that he disappears in restricted mode because the people he hates are being hurt by it, and so that's all he really cares about at the end of the day. So as far as he's concerned, the system is working. It's working as intended as far as he's concerned, because it's hurting the people he wants to hurt. So, yeah.